I don't often share. So if it gets a little bit more personal, it gets a little bit more intense, I promise you I won't share it. So if this gives you the opportunity to share openly, this is the type of platform we like to have for that. So before I we get started with the panel, I just want to introduce, welcome you guys. If I could find my little screen here. Okay, here we go. Let's do this. There it is. Sure, here we go. Show. There we go. All right. So welcome to Let's Talk About It Tuesday. I am the dynamic, daring, one-of-a-kind diva, Denise Silas. This is a part of our the business of Empowered by DS. So if this is your very first time to an Empowered by DS experience, would you put it in the chat? I love to just let people know who we are, why we do what we do. So just put it in the chat as if it's your first experience. So these are some of the things that we do. Empowered by DS is a business that I do with my daughters. The whole purpose of our business is to empower women to be the best version of themselves in all aspects of their life. So this just shows you some of the events that we do. Some of them are in person, some of them are virtual. The whole purpose of these events is to help women in the area of their faith, their family and relationships, their finances and their career, their fitness and their wellness, and their fun. So we cover it all. And I know this kind of came about after COVID, where we knew that people were trying to get back to their new normal and was kind of stuck. So we just started. I've been empowering women for over 30 years. Actually, May 31st will be my 31st year in Mary Kay doing it. And so I have been doing that over half my life, actually over half my life. So we just expanded it. So we do it in various ways. I want to encourage you to check out our website to learn more about the things that we do. This is one of the things, the reason why Let's Talk About It Tuesday came about, because every time I have an event, I always ask women, what are some of their concerns? What are some of the issues that they're dealing with? So this gives me the way to try to address those in a very open platform. I do know that we have a gentleman on here today. So we welcome you. We're excited to have you on here as well. We are truly, we know this motherless child don't just impact women, it impacts everybody. So I'm excited to have you on today. So this is a little bit about us and the variety of things that we do. And then the most upcoming thing for our people who are local, we have our Divas Dinner and Dialogue that's coming up. So check us out, get registered for that. If you check out the website, you'll see all the different services that we have. And then you'll also have the opportunity. I was able to collaborate with a group of women that talked about motherhood. And so we were able to do a tribute, myself and several other women were able to do a tribute to the mothers that we lost in our lives. So that book was my kind of like the plateau of my healing through the process of losing my mom. So check us out on our website. I usually go in more detail, but I want to leave a lot of time available so that you can learn more and we can have this discussion. But follow us. If you don't follow us currently, we're on all social media platforms. Those are my daughters that do the business with me. So we're just excited about helping to make a difference and help women to live their best lives in all aspects of it. So check us out. That's it. So I'm excited about all of these women that's going to be, you're going to get a chance to meet in just a second. Many of them have been with me a lot, long time. So I know there's a lot of people I know that have lost their moms, but I selected them specifically because they all have different stories and different seasons of their lives that I think they could be able to offer to our conversation. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to do my best to make us look like we're doing something here. So I'm gonna bring everybody up to the stage. Let me grab everybody here. And so we have Karyn, and let me find my other ones to bring to the stage. Review. this will help me this way. Here we go. Add to the spotlight. Here we go. Look at me doing something. Go again so I can find my peoples. In my later life, so y'all gonna be here at the beginning. In my later life, I'm gonna have somebody in the background doing all the great things. But until then, I'm doing it, right?
From your lips to God's ears.
Yes. And we're choosing no, I saw her. Okay. Uh-oh, what happened? All right, everybody. Yay, I can see y'all for y'all. Yeah. So I'm excited. Okay, so first of all, we just gonna kind of go through for my guests that are on. Thank you for being here with us on tonight. I could have done this varieties of ways, right? I could have got some specialists, some doctors who have studied all this kind of stuff. But to me, the real deal is if you went through it, right? It's a whole different experience when you go through it. So that's why I invited these ladies. We have a degree we have an ME. We got a master's in experience of losing our mamas, right? So we all have that in common here. So what I want to do is first have everybody just kind of introduce themselves. Just tell us a little bit about you, where you were in life when you lost your mom. So, kind of your age, if you were in school, if you had children, just in that, what season where you are. Because sometimes we connect with people in the same season as us, when you guys agree. So we want to just have everybody to learn. So I'm going to start with you first, Treats.
All right. Hello. My name is Latrice. I am not just a motherless child. I am a parentless child. I lost my mother 14 years ago, and I lost my father maybe 20 years ago. And I lost my mother when I was 25. I was in college, and I had a 3-year-old at the time. So I had a lot going on. I had a 15-year-old sister and I was 22, so my brother was probably maybe, I was 25. She was 15. He maybe was like, oh, I don't know. And can you see how old was he? He was in school too. He was in school as well. I am the oldest. He was about 17, 18. So I am the oldest. And at that time, when I lost my mother, because I am the oldest, I kind of try to transition and take on the responsibility of my brother and my sister in that time, because like I said, I am the oldest. It's 10 years between me and my sister and 7 years between my brother and I. So that's the part of life that I was in at that time.
Okay. All right. Next, excuse me. Let's hear from Pam.
All right. Pamela Cratic. I lost my mom 28 years ago. I lost my dad 23 years ago. I was new to marriage, new to motherhood. I was working. I was 34 years old. And it was like I got married, I had a baby, and my mama died. That's just how it was. My daughter was 7 weeks old when my mom passed away.
Hey, Karen, you're unmuted, so let's go with you.
Am I muted?
You're unmuted.
No, sorry about that. I'm Carol Allen, and I just lost my mom 2 years ago in 2023 as a mature person, because I'm not going to tell my age, okay? But and I lost my dad when I was 5, so I'm a parentless child. I'm, adult. But also, through the process of losing my mom, I also had adult children who were leaving and had gone through a divorce. So the combined loss was definitely interesting. But yeah, my mom was 91. So she had a long life, but it's only been 2 years for me. It's been 2 years. But you know what? I don't think it changes whether you're young, old, or whatever, but it's only been 2 years for me.
All right, Kay.
I'm not muted, right? I'm on.
I can hear you.
My name is Karyn Williams. I lost my mom and dad in 2020, oddly, not from COVID, and within 82 days of each other. So I lost both parents in the same season. That would have been my mid-50s. Having been the caregiver, the main caregiver, it was an experience. I went from time and receiving that phone call you never want to receive. Karyn, I think I'm having a stroke. And that being, the person in your life that's always been your Wonder Woman, your Superwoman, just losing strength in every limb of her body and dealing with dad at the same time, and also a mother in love who was struggling with stage 4 lung cancer. So it was a season of trials. And just kind of the trifecta of loss in a very short period of time. So I am looking forward to this panel and sharing and hearing and being a part of this Talk About It Tuesday.
So the interesting thing is I forgot that when I asked the 4 of you that you all had lost both parents. So this has even taken the whole conversation to another level, right? That only God knew, right? What was happening in bringing this all together. Because that definitely is a difference, right? When you don't have a parent that you can fall back on. Because I would say, because my mom passed is why my relationship is with what it is today with my dad, which is, that's going to be a different talk about Tuesday. So we'll talk about that later. But okay, so let's start with you, Carol, because I know you add a dynamic with not being in the area where your mom was, and that can bring a whole nother trying. So let's talk about just the time for you, right before losing her, all of that, because there's emotions with having to, because I know you being there with you, seeing you having to get back and forth, not just down the street. At least I could, when it was me, I could drive an hour away. Yours was across the whole country, right? So tell us a little bit about your time leading up the whole, because you were caregiving, even though you have a caregiver journey as well. So can you share with us leading up to your time and when you actually lost your mom?
Yeah, so my mom was a healthy, well, about as healthy as, you can be in your 90s, but she was very active. And then she had a medical crisis in 2022. And at that point, she couldn't live alone. She couldn't cook or anything. So I have 4 sisters, and we're so blessed. We did not want her to go to a facility, so we had the opportunity to take care of her. I was the only one that was out of town. So I would fly into Philadelphia and stay 7 days to give my sisters a break. And I know that's just a blessing because everybody does not have the opportunity to do that, to spend time with my mom. And I'm going to be really honest. I'm not the best caregiver. Like, everybody has a gift. So I spent my time making my mom happy, doing her hair, putting lotion on her, things like that. And I say that because everybody has a different gift and talent. And some people, it's just really like the compassion and taking care of somebody physically and the health piece of it. And I was not that one. I was the one that was there to give her joy. And so I was there to make her happy and things like that. And honestly, you guys, she didn't want me to help her. She said, if you step on my toe one more time, you know. But for me, it was such a privilege and a blessing. And if anybody has ever done caregiving, you know there's another part of that too, where it's like frustration and those kinds of things. And you have to be okay with all of the emotions. They go up and down. And so I was in my mother's from Philadelphia. I was in Philly every single month. The month before she passed away, I got sick, and it was the only month that I did not go there. And I missed that month. And so for a moment that bothered me, but I knew that I had been there when I could be there. And so that was the journey for me, as far as taking care of her. And it was just such a blessing to be able to spend that time,
Mhm.
because it was almost 1 year to the time that she had that crisis that she passed away.
Pam, your journey is a little bit different, right? So share with us your time leading up to the loss of your mom.
So as I said, I had just gotten married. Had I got married, it was like a whirlwind. I didn't even know it was my own life. It was so, I was doing stuff I normally wouldn't do. It was like I got married, then all of a sudden I found out I was pregnant. It was like I had a bridal shower and a baby shower in the same year. You know, yeah, everything was just happening so fast, you know. My daughter was born November 29th, and then January 17th, my great aunt passed away. My family packed up to go to Mississippi to the funeral, and I get a telephone call. There was an accident. And out of all the people that were in the van, my mom was the one that passed. So my mother passed away in a car accident. So here I was, a young mother with a 7-week-old baby. I ain't know what to do with no baby, you know, and she was gone. It was just that quick, you know. And I think the hardest part of my journey was people had always looked at me as being so strong, you know. And I think a lot of times people think because you are outspoken, you will speak up. They confuse that with being very, very, very strong. And that's how everybody treated me, you know, like I was so strong. And one of the hardest parts of my journey, and I still kind of struggle with that, I've gotten better over the years, was not trying to be my mother because I wasn't her, you know. And I had to get to the point to tell people. I had to tell my daddy, I had to tell my brothers, I had to tell my family, I am not my mother. I look like her and I act like her, but I am not her. And that has been the hardest part, I think, of my journey because people had expectations of me that they had of my mother. And for a while, I tried to fill that role, you know. I tried to be the one that my mother was the one um, that, you know, tried to make everything happen. And that's how I was. And I tried to make so much stuff happen for my family, my friends, church, just tried to make it all happen. And in the process, where was Pam? And then when Pam did come out, and she came out very frustrated and angry, and you know what I'm saying, and she would be blunt and didn't care if she hurt your feelings or not because I was trying to be something I was. trying to be somebody I wasn't. So it has been a journey discovering myself. But to turn that around, the best thing that happened to me throughout losing my mother was the fact that I had my daughter, you know. Katrina has really been my stabling. She has been my stabling force. And, all of that. She has really, really, really been. So, the scripture, I remember when my mother died, and then I'm gonna say this, then I'm gonna be finished for that part. The scripture I read the day my mother died was Exodus 3:12. And the A part of that verse said, God said you would certainly be with you. I had always been a person who loved God, loved church, in church, blah, blah, blah. But I could not read my Bible. I couldn't even pray. Only words I had was, God, you said you was gonna be with me. God, you said you was gonna be with me, and that's all I had. That's all I had. I looked at my daughter. God, you said you was gonna be with me. That was it. You know, and like I said, she has really, really been that stabilizing force for me. And a lot of people didn't understand it because I immersed myself in it. Church, work, church, work 3, 4 jobs. Just, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm glad I'm old now. I don't have to do all that stuff. So,
And it's often, and I'm sure, for those of you that's on, put in the chat, are you the person in the family where everybody goes to? Are you the strong one? Are you the one that people, everybody else could break down, but you couldn't? Like, I remember having a conversation with Pam, and she had told me that something about being strong. I said, but you are the strong one. And until I lost my mom, when she said to me, I don't have to be strong for nobody but myself. And I was like, but Pam, then I turned around and lost my mama. And I was like, I know what you meant now. Like, it's like they don't give you permission to be vulnerable or to break down because you're the one that everybody depend on, right? So yeah, put in, because I'm sure that is, if nothing else, that's a common thing that people deal with, is when it's time for you to need someone. Either you're going to feel guilty because you used to being the one that everybody, or people just don't expect, because like you said, because you're the louder one, that they expect you to be the one to carry everything, like you don't have any emotion. So, but that,
Denise, with that, I think people don't realize and understand you drew your strength off of your mother. You understand what I'm saying? I was so strong while my mother was here because of my mother. Because of my mother egging me on, because of my mother pushing me on, because of my mother telling me, oh, you can do that. You can do anything. I used to tell her I could. But I'm just saying, she used to egg me on. And that's where my strength, and a lot of times you draw your strength from your mother because of their expectations of you. And when that strength, that's gone, you're like, oh, okay, I can't do this.
yeah. Karyn.
Trying to, as Carol was talking, as Pam was talking, I was just trying to format what I would even say, because it's difficult to I applaud you ladies for just being able to put it in a succinct description. I'm going to start by just introducing you to who my mother, Luella White, was. She was this larger than life figure to all of my friends, all of my church, all of the community. She was the mom of I used to joke and say, she was that mom. I think a couple of guys back in the day dated me longer than they wanted to because they thought they were going to lose the relationship with my mom. She was that mom, right?
That's funny.
She had children. She was the hug you would get. Everybody, Sister White. Everybody knew Sister White. And before I was remarried, people would mistake me and call me Sister White. I'm like, There's one that is. I'm Karyn. Sister White is my mother. That is because there was no other Sister White. Um, she graduated high school at 15. She was brilliant. She was talented. She would do this one woman play at our church called The Creation, where she had memorized the entire chapter of Genesis, and it was animated. It was breathtaking. And then she wrote all of our Easter plays. She wrote all of our Christmas plays. She was in, the Sunday school superintendent. She was this. You didn't have a birthday without getting a card from Sister White. I mean, it was just with the Trinity offering now, it was going to be $3 in that card. But she was that person. In fact, when she passed, she passed July, she passed October. My bad. Dad was July. She passed October of 2020. On Thanksgiving, the paramedics, the first Thanksgiving we were without her, the paramedics came to her house with a pie to tell us, because they had fallen in love with her, to tell us they knew this was our first holiday without her. Come on now. The people who saving lives all day long took a break, came to her house with a pie because they knew that's where we were, and they wanted to. She was that person. So having that person go from this stroke to just breaking her down year after year after. I went from working full time, trying to go part-time, and finding friends of the family to help me on different days. And because she was Sister White, people would, those that were retired or able would help, because there's a saying, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to take care of a sick parent. And as she got weaker and weaker, bless the Lord for sending me the godsend of a husband he sent me, because he was my, ooh, when I tell you, my backbone, to the point where, it became, it be not just stressful emotionally, physically, mentally, socially, personally, on me, but on our marriage. I mean, it was just, he was my backbone. But when I would get home, I was so exhausted. Because at some point, she had, I was there from 8 in the morning until dusk, at which point my sister would take over and just stay at night. And Carol talked about some people, that not being their ministry, that just some people can't. My sister's not a caregiver. All she did at night was just make sure my mother was breathing until I got back in the morning. That's it. I wish I was exaggerating, but that's it. People are like, don't you wish you had more siblings so you have more help? I'm here to tell you today, just because you have more siblings doesn't mean you have more help. So I just got to where a girlfriend told me after everything was over that her sister said, Karyn just looks so old. And it's draining. It's draining because you are cooking, you're cleaning, you're wiping, you're lifting, you're turning, there's medications. There are several doctors, there's medications, there are questions, there's blood type. I knew her medications better than I knew my own. Not an exaggeration. There are healthcare workers constantly coming to the house. There's always things that need to be done. And at one point, and I'm gonna wrap this up real quick because I want there to be time. Um, I I I also want to say that I'm thankful for this time. I don't want you, I'm talking about all of the glass half empty, but the glass full is that the Lord allowed me this time. There was one particular time where I got home and I was in the kitchen, and my husband asked me, he said, you're taking care of your mom. You're so busy taking care of her. Are you spending time with her? I didn't know what he meant. And immediately I was reminded of the story in the Bible with Martha and Mary, where Jesus had come to the house and Martha was so busy running around the house trying to get everything together. Mary was sitting at his feet. And Martha was like, oh, but the people going to be here. These people got to eat. I got to this. I got to go clean this. I got to. And I said, I'm being Martha. I had to, there was so much that needed to be done, needed to be washed, needed to be cleaned, time to feed her, time to, I wasn't sitting and laughing and talking, Carol, like you said you were, and my mom through all of this, you all, because she is the beautiful soul she is, was just delightful. She never got irritated. My dad was so crotchety. I had to beg the staff at the facility at one point to keep taking care of him because he was just. But my mom, on the other hand, made it a joy. Every time the paramedics came, they said they knew when they heard 309 Newberry Lane, that's our friend. They got there and we could see from where the house was positioned, them pulling out of there and the lights coming on and them pulling up because they were coming to get Sister White. They even said she was, because she's one of those moms that had everybody's picture on her wall. They said, we need our picture on these walls in here because they were there so often. But just in saying that, I am thankful for the opportunity. I'm thankful for that day I came home and my husband said, are you spending time with? That's when we started taking selfies and, singing our songs and, going through the gospel pearl, not the hymnal, because Luella White knew every song and every verse in the gospel pearl. If you at church, she was that woman that made sure you knew you didn't show your shoulders in church. You had foundation under your dress. You this, you that, so I gathered all of that up before it was too late, before I forgot to remember to spend time with her. So I am thankful through it all that I had that opportunity. Through all of the skilled nursing facilities and this stroke and this up and this down, the Lord let us know he'd just never leave you or forsake you. And not trying to take us to church, but that was just me. I praise the Lord for my husband, and I also praise the Lord for my faith through all of this because, how you need that friend that's going to tell you what you want to hear when you don't even. That's my faith. If it was just me in a dark corner with tears, because sometimes you just needed to be. I just needed that prayer closet because there was pressure from all around. But I was thankful for the time he gave me with her. So I'll leave her from that.
All right, Treese.
All right. So my journey was a little different. I was once again the oldest of three. My mom, she passed away fairly young. She passed away at 47. She was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, so she had a journey of her own. And with me being going away from school, at school, and my sister and brother was home with her, and I was only coming home on the weekends. So they were the ones who was mainly there with her. My sister and my brother, they were the ones there mainly taking care of her. I just was taking care of her on the weekends. But those two, they were there with her consistently, more of my sister than my brother, because he was not really want to face the reality of what was actually going on. Mm-hmm. And me being the oldest, I would come in, like I said, because I was in college at the time, coming on Thursdays, even on Mondays, just trying to do as much as I can with a teenage sister as well. So our journey was a little bit different. I remember it was my granddad was taking my mother to chemos on every Friday. It was a Friday. I swear, even though it was 14 years ago, I remember it literally like it was yesterday. Her eyes were yellow. This was a Friday. I want to say it was maybe April 1st, because it was like that Friday she went to the hospital. She never came back from the hospital. She went to go to chemo on a Friday, and it's like she went walking and talking and saying what she wanted to do, what she didn't want to do. And it was like from April 1st all the way to the April 15th when she passed away. It was a journey, because it's like from the 1st to the 15th, it's like something different happened every day. She was talking one day, the next day she wasn't talking, then she wasn't swallowing, then she wasn't moving, then she wasn't this, then she wasn't that. So it's like it's like 15 days she went from talking to just nothing. Within that 15 days, I had to make some of the hardest decisions I ever made as a 25-year-old. I had to decide, if I wanted to move her from one hospital to another. I had to decide on if I wanted to take her home as a 25-year-old, some tough decisions. Thank God I had an auntie there who was an auntie named Denise, who was there, who was on my side, who was helping me think logical and not thinking of, what would B want to do, or what is reasonable for the 25-year-old, or what can the 25-year-old handle on her own? What can, not what this person wants and what that person wants, but what actually can this 25-year-old who has a child of her own, who is in college, what can she actually do? As a 25-year-old with a 47-year-old mother, I was young, she was young. It was a lot. It definitely was a lot, as well as, not even thinking about, I have a 15-year-old sister, I have a 17-year-old, almost 18-year-old brother. Like, how is this affecting them? What would I have to do? And it was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot to the fact of my aunt. I swear I thank her so much. She kept driving from Mississippi at that time, coming all the way up to Wisconsin, back and forth, coming to help me as much as she can. And it just was a journey. It was a journey within itself. I don't even, it's crazy, because like I said, it's 14 years ago, but I remember it literally like it was just, and I'm not even one of the type of individuals to remember a lot from my past, but I can remember every detail from April 1st to April 15th of 2011, like it literally was yesterday. Literally just like it was yesterday. But like I said, my mom's journey, hers it was a lot different, because she went from literally talking and walking in there in that place to on the 15th, there was absolutely nothing. So hers was a little bit different. Like I said, she was very young and I was young, and making life choices and decisions that young, it was hard on me. But like I said, I had a support team, a support system, as well as being a main caretaker of someone, seeing all the different things that a person in their body goes through from, all of that. It is definitely different. And from working in that field and having experience in that field, it's nothing like taking care of somebody that's your own. It's the feelings and etc. that you go through with taking care of a stranger versus someone that's your loved one. It's completely different. It's completely, you don't see things the same. You don't feel the feelings the same. Like, you can get attached to a stranger, but when it's your loved one, it's a completely different experience. So yes.
Yeah. Because we ain't gonna get we're gonna work on this.
Clearing up the throat over there.
For sure. So I know you touched on a little bit. I guess all y'all a little bit. What was the I think Pam touched on hers, the thing that you had to cope with the transition? Because I think it's all different factors that can be involved, right? Whether the long term of it, because, I would imagine being there, Karyn being there the whole time, and then all of a sudden you don't have that, right? Then you have the situation of somebody passing suddenly, you didn't have that time. Then you have someone in Latrice, I believe it was 10 days. Because I remember coming in, getting a call from Latrice. For those of you who don't know, Latrice is my niece. So the event that I do, Feel the Till in Your Hottest Heel for Ovarian Cancer Awareness, is in honor of her mom. So I remember the day getting a call that I needed to come now. So, and it was a Wednesday. It went around, and then she was gone, I think, that Sunday. So I think it was like a 10-day process. So when Pam talked about the strength of your mom, right? When you see your mom no longer be that strength that you physically used to see, and then you see the things that she can no longer do, like Karyn was saying, right? They just had this, that, and it's funny thing about Mama Luella, she might have been 4'5", like she was a small set, but just the radiance. So when you watch that, even with my mom, I remember the very first day I came in my mom's house, and I was from behind her, she had a scarf on, and she had chemo. I didn't live in the area. Once again, it's the difference between, you know, what you go through when you're physically watching it, and then the shock of it. And she did something and the scarf came off and she had no hair. So my mom had like a lot of full hair, and that was the first time. So those first times, I think all of that process, when you talk about losing your mom, there can be stages in those losses, right? So from the stage where the strong person, then what Latrice described, to I tried to hand my sister one day a bottle of water. She took it, she drank from it. The very next day, she could not hold the bottle. Like so you can see those stages happening right before. So having to cope with the loss even before the loss, because there's different versions of the loss that happens. So what would you guys say, you haven't mentioned, what was your hardest part about not the process as much as let's get to the loss. Now we're trying to transition from our new normal. Like what is that going to look like? How do you adjust to that? Because I always tell people, you know, when I find out somebody lost their mom, I always hit them the next day, because that day after is something to me. Like that day that you lose them that day, that's a whole different feeling. But the next day when you wake up and they're not there, for me, that was like, oh my gosh, this is real. I wasn't dreaming. Like, this is real. Like, this is life, the new life. So what was your hardest, whoever wants to go first, your hardest part of that next day without your mom? And then as you're talking about that also, and Latrice hit on her, what was your support system? Because sometimes I think we trying to figure it out on our own. And I believe you need somebody you can tap into. Like, I don't care how strong you are, you need somebody to tap into. So what was your source where you got your strength and help you make it from people used to say to me all the time, you know, get it, you know, take it day by day. I said, I'm trying to get from moment to moment. Mm-hmm. I just try to get from moment to moment because I couldn't get to a day. I just needed to get to the next moment. So who wants to jump in and how they cope with it and where they got their support from?
I'll go first. I would say my hardest is now. And the reason why I say that is because I have 2 children. The more holidays and experiences and, you know, accomplishments and things in that nature that comes on, I say that's the hardest, because like my son, he never met my mom. My daughter, she was 3 when my mom passed. So I would say that's the hardest for me. And like my sister, she's, you know, she's graduated with her master's, she's getting her doctorate. My brother, he has, you know, I have 3 kids, and I say that's the hardest for me for now. And then how did I cope with the days to come? I think what helps me continue to move on is I focus my days now on, sorry about that. They, you know, kids still got to move around. I think what helps me now is I take my focus and I focus on my kids and building memories with them so that they can have memories of me with them and building. And not even just my kids, my family in general. I'm a big family person. I do all the holidays. I'm the cooker. I'm the one who brings all the family together. I'm the one who does everything because I want my family to have a good time. I want them to have those memories, because even though I know it will be a whole lot of years from now that I won't be here, or my granddad or my grandmother or whomever, I just take all that time to build those memories, to have that, because there's not a lot of memories that I can say that I have with my mom because she was so young. Like, I'm about to be 40 and she passed away when she was 47. I'm getting kind of close to that. So and I think of that all the time. Like, I know God has a a whole lot more in store for me. So I'm not going to go nowhere at 47, 57, 67, 77. But just in case, you know, the cards aren't in my favor, I'm going to continue to build those memories for my kids and my legacy and my family, and have all those memories. So that's what keeps me going. And my support system is, it's a lot. Like, I reach out to all of my family. Like I said, I build and have all the holidays. Family, if they're not talking, I'm gonna make them talk. I'm going to be the one to build the gap or stop the silence, or whatever the case may be. I'm the one who's gonna stick us together, hold us together, or make us be accountable. Or I'm just gonna be that individual, because I'm a big family person. I'm a big family oriented person. And yeah, so yeah, that's how I deal with all of that. Am I missing something, Auntie Niecy?
You're good. Okay. Were you about to say something, Carol, before she?
I'll go next. Go ahead. I wasn't sure. Yeah.
Go ahead, Carol.
For me, the hardest thing was the finality of it all. The reality that my mom was not here anymore. Because, I mean, in our minds, we know it may be coming, but the finality of it, I talk to my mom every single day. I was just telling my daughter 2 weeks ago, every time I got in the car to go to the grocery store, I called my mom. 2 weeks ago, my mom's been going for 2 years. I turned the corner and almost dialed that number. And just to know I can't call my mom. And can I tell you all now, I don't tell my age, but I'm over 60. On Thanksgiving, I realized I didn't have a recipe. I had never written a recipe down. I called my mom every Thanksgiving for the same recipe. I was in the grocery store when I realized I didn't have the recipe, and literally broke down in tears. It's just the you know, it's the everyday thing, you know. It's when somebody's been a part of your life every single day. It's the finality. It's the reality that this is it. We're not going to see you again. But I'll tell you, my support system, of course, my sisters, you know, we support each other, but it was women who had lost their moms. I literally, especially right afterwards, and this is for anybody else who's on, it's not on the panel, it may be a new thing. I literally had women text me, Carol, breathe, drink water, go to sleep. And I know that sounds simple, but you get so overwhelmed with things, you can literally get physically ill. And I had people that had to tell me to breathe, to just do basic things, you guys, just basic things. And honestly, the way I cope is I balance gratitude and grief. You know, I lost my dad when I was 5, and I remember just praying, Lord, please let my mom have long life. I want my mom to have long life. My mother lived 91 years. And so I still do feel grief, but every time I feel grief, I pour gratitude over it. Like just the gratitude of the woman that she was, the impact that she had on my life. And it just changed, you know, it just balances it out. And I'm not saying that there aren't times where I will have a good old cry. Anybody know what I'm talking about? And I'm okay with it. I'll go right for it. I'm not trying to hold it back. I go, I go in. But then I pull all the gratitude, and it just totally changed, you know, it just balances it out. So that's really, really my coping mechanism, gratitude and balancing gratitude and grief.
They call those, I went to grief counseling, thought I was going to help a friend, and realized I was a friend that needed help. But it was 2 years later. It was not even in the season, but they call that the crying, the ambush. You get ambushed. And a lot of times people try to hold that back, but that is a natural part. I bet each one of us have a crazy scenario where you just cry. I remember like it was yesterday at 9906 Stephanie Lane in Maryland when the garage door came down and I said she would never see this house. Just out of nowhere. So, but it just embracing that, like you have to learn to, that's not great. It's just how you are connected, right? So not letting people, the one thing I would tell people, don't let people try to tell you what is right or wrong in your grief journey and how you process it. If it's too long, if you should have been over it by now. My aunt said something crazy like that to me a couple times to me. And then she said it about my cousin. I was like, what do you mean by that? But it's almost like she has a timeline where you should process it and you should be able to cope with it. Yeah, it's easy for you to say because your mama's still here, but but I think she would probably even still think that it's because that's how she processes things. But don't let anybody, if you walk away from here, don't let anybody, I don't care if it's been 5 years, 20 something years, tell you how you are supposed to cope with the fact that your mother is no longer here, because that is a void for, I mean, that's a serious void, right? For people. So go ahead.
I add one more thing.
Yes.
Because you're grieving your mother, but also you're grieving so many other things. Like Latrice is grieving the fact that her children don't see her mother. For me, I'm grieving just the whole family situation, where my mom was the person. My mom was kind of like your mom, Karyn. She was she brought the people together, and now that's not there anymore. Like everybody's doing something different. So it's the loss of your mom, but it's also the loss of the lifestyle that you had, the connections that you had, and it's so many,
everything attached to her.
So many layers of grieving. Yeah, it's a lot of layers.
Yep. And yours could be unique, different than somebody else's.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just totally different. So don't let anybody tell you.
I have 4 sisters, and we are all going through the process totally different.
And they said that's exactly how to be. Grief share said that. And you have to respect the way people go through it. You may not like it, because my brother ran when my mother passed away. My sister left the house to not return. Like, I was so mad at Beatrice, but that's how she processed it. So I had to just deal with, but I learned that when I went through grief sharing later. I was hot mad during the process, but you got to let people grieve it the way they decide to. Karyn, go ahead.
I think my situation was a little different because my mother suffered so much at the end. The very last year, I mean, she had nothing. She couldn't help me help her. She couldn't feed herself. I remember taking a picture, because now that I was spending time, and like you said, Carol, washing hair and doing nails and, trying to add more fun into the day as opposed to just care. I remember taking a picture because it was someone's birthday, and I was like, Mom, can you wave? And she couldn't lift her hand. And it just became increasingly worse and weaker. And even though from her head up, you'd never be able to tell. I kind of kept, that was the way I could kind of keep Sister White, because she was still able to laugh and talk and, use her face and all of that. You would never have known from the neck up that she was even ill. But from the neck down. So, they always say when someone is ill and they're at that point, when they tell you they're tired, that's when they're ready. She didn't say she was tired. The very last medical emergency we had at the hospital, my godmother had told me, okay, just like what you just said, Carol, somebody tells you, breathe. My godmother, who to this day I'm thankful for, the Lord couldn't have chosen a better godmother for me, called me and said, go home. She's at the hospital. She is getting the best care. You need rest. And I went home, and I struggled with doing that. I'm a type A person. I'm hands-on. I gotta, but that's what wears us down. Sometimes, and the Lord knew I wouldn't have heard it from anybody else. But when my godmother said, go home, and that was our best friend, go home, I did. Woke up the next morning refreshed, got a call from the nurse that said, your mom says it's time to let her go. And when I got to the hospital and I walked in her room, she looked at me and said, she didn't say I'm tired. She said, I'm exhausted. And that let me know it's time. So hospice came along, and I'm telling you all, I pray for hospice people to this day, because that is their gift. That is, there's a job for somebody. Everybody has a slot, and that is theirs. And they were wonderful for me. They were wonderful for my family, made my mom as comfortable as possible. So when the finality of it, we washed that hair, we got those curls together. Her skin was beautiful. Her baby brother was there, her siblings, and she was at her house because we never wanted her in a, that was, I'm thankful we were able to do that. We cared for her in our home. She wanted to be in our home. So we got her back to the house, made her as comfortable as possible, and then let everything take its what am I trying to say? It's let everything happen naturally with the medication. And my prayer was to the Lord, once the finality of it became real, I rejoiced. She was no longer suffering. It was selfish of me to want her to be here because she's my mom. Because, like, what world is it where your mom isn't there? Like, what does that even look like? What do you mean? There's a possibility my mom won't be here? But she had been through so much. And when I tell you that woman sacrificed for us and made sure we didn't have designer, blah, 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 but we were clean and we were cute, and she did that thing. She did it. And it was my joy to do it for her. This is my first lady sending me a text, you all. She wanted to be on with us, and she's asking if it's too late for her to join. I got to get to her and text her the Zoom ID. So I'll wrap this up. But my mother was my first lady and pastor's youngest son's godmother. See what I mean? This lady she was everywhere. For everybody. Just so and in saying that, yes, there was the finality of it. And yes, the next day I didn't have my mom, but in this particular case, even though there was loss, I rejoiced knowing she was with her mother, she was with her father, she was no longer suffering, and she was using all of her limbs. She was well. It was well with her soul. So I'll say that. And I'm gonna go get my first lady while we.
Hey, Karyn,
Yes.
tell your first lady's name.
Charlotte
What?
Jones.
That was Katrina's French teacher. I just wanted to say that. Yes. Madame.
Madame Jones.
Yes, Madame. Katrina's on.
I love
just the
that.
Connections. Yeah.
I love me some Madame Jones.
Yes.
All right, Cam, share.
Okay, so the finale to me, it was like it was different. So my mother died young too. My mother died 3 days before her 57th birthday. Like I said, on her way down south, died in a car accident. And so when my mother died, it was like everybody like pounced on me because I had to move. I had to do this. That's how my mother taught me. So I had to throw on my big girl panties and work. And that's what I did. My cousins were they were like, "Oh, we haven't seen her cry." And I remember telling one of them, I don't know which one it was, but I told one of them, especially during the week that you prepare, I said, "Go ahead on, y'all cry. Because the day we buried my mother, that is the day I'm going to cry every day for the rest of my life." And that saying has been true. I don't necessarily cry every day, but I do think about my mother. It's not a day that does not go by that I don't think about my mother. My support system was my family, They were a very close-knit family because they lost their mom when they were young, and my grandfather raised them to be very tight and close. And that's how they raised us. They raised us more like brother and sisters than cousins. So that was my support system. My support system was also my friends. My good friends, my church family. It's so funny because every year for about 3 or 4 years, on the day that my mother died, Denise would always call me. She never knew that was the day my mother died. She would always just call me. Support system in that my best friend Tina lost her mom like 3 months after I lost mine. So we became even tighter than we were. So the support system was there. And as I said, Katrina, support system. My cousin Vicky, just a support system, and then friends. And the finality of it, though, the finality when I really realized that I sat down one day and I got mad. I got so freaking mad. I was mad. I was mad because, first of all, I was having health challenges. And then, as I'm talking to my aunts about these health challenges, they're like, oh, your mama had that. No, I didn't know she had that. Didn't nobody tell me. She should have been telling me. And then I looked at my brother's children. I said, oh, y'all baby saw her. My baby wouldn't know her. I was her only girl. So I spent a few years being mad, and that's when I decided I was gonna no longer be her. I wasn't doing all that stuff. So the finality of it all came a little later for me. But it was times I'd sit down and I'd be like, wait a minute, what am I supposed to do with her now? I was talking about Katrina. Oh, is she going through this? Whatever. So it's not a finale because it was ongoing. You understand what I'm saying? As different stages, even in my life. I remember when I was going through, I was having health challenges, breast health challenges, and one day I just packed up my daughter and took her to my auntie. I said, "Y'all keep her." Because I'm like, what I'm supposed to do? Who gonna take care of me when I'm sick? But I need somebody to take care of her. So mine was kind of different because of how my mother was raised. And one of the things that my pastor in Chicago says, you always should know somebody's story. And once I learned my mother's backstory, it gave me clarity to a lot of things about my mother that I didn't understand growing up. Growing up, she changed churches. She changed denominations, I should say, churches and denominations. And it was a very hard time for me. That was very, very, very hard time for me. But coming out of college, I learned, I thank God, one thing she said, y'all going to college. She said, I don't care if y'all go a year, but you're getting up out of here. Y'all gonna get an education. And so I thank God for her making us go to school. But in that, I learned a lot um, about her. And once I learned a lot about her, I understood a lot of her backstory. Her mother died when she was young. She was raised by her father, who was a very, very hard taskmaster. Then he remarried after my oldest aunt graduated from high school and put over my mother at the age of 14, puberty. I mean, see, had not I been to school to understand all that and know all of that. And so our relationship, I think, as her adult daughter, it was really just beginning when I lost her. So that was, it was really kind of hard. It was really, really, like I said, kind of hard for me, but my support system, they were supporting me when I really didn't even realize it, know it, understand it, that I needed that support the way I did. And then again, I keep going back to my daughter. My daughter, that has been Katrina. So Katrina, my mother's name was Catherine. Katrina means Catherine. So that has really, really, really helped me a lot. Understanding her backstory. And then I had to get over anger because I was very much angry. I was angry at my brothers, because they went out and had kids early and I didn't. I mean, just crazy stuff. But it helped me to really be. And then what I did, even though it was finality, and I like what I think Carol said, she put it with gratefulness. What I tried to do was everything that I wanted my relationship to be with my mother, I poured it into my daughter, whether she wanted it or not. you know, I I made us be close. I made us say, no, you gonna talk to me. Sometimes she be telling me stuff. I'd be like, oh, geez, don't tell me. But I didn't have that. And I made sure everything I didn't have in a relationship that I wanted with my mother, that I made sure that Katrina and I had it, have it. So that's my story and I'm sticking with it. She might have something different, but my story. Yeah, so that was my finality. It's ongoing. So as I said earlier, my mother died 28 years ago. But I remember this, and I want to share this. I saw where somebody said that their mother just passed 6 months ago. It was a lady at the church. Her mother was 99 years old. That lady was 78 years old. That lady sat there and cried like a baby. And God gave me the understanding. It doesn't matter how long you have your mother. It's your mother.
Mhm.
It's your mother. And I'm telling you all of this, how God, when I say God started preparing me, I didn't know I was gonna lose my mother, but he started preparing me for loss because I started looking at things differently. I remember going to the church one day and it was a funeral procession coming. Now I used to try to hurry up and speed past the funeral procession.
It gives you a
But
different perspective.
yes, but this, and my mother wasn't even gone then. This was 6 months before she died in that car accident. But as that funeral procession was going, I stopped and I said, one day I will be in one of those. I mean, so God just started giving me he was preparing me. Didn't know it was going to be my mother the day she left her house. They came back because my brother had forgot something. So they came back. But when they left again, I ran to the back window and I looked out the window and I said, somebody's not coming back. I don't even know if I ever shared that. But I said, somebody's not coming back. But I thought it was going to be my daddy because my daddy was the one that was sickly. My mother wasn't. And so God, he prepared me. And with that scripture, God said, I will certainly be with you. That's it. That's all I had. That's all I had. Yeah.
I know I was looking in the chat, you guys, if you have any feedback. I know I think Sherelle was saying, how do you not be overwhelmed? She has a lot on her as a result of losing losing her as a motherly figure. It wasn't actually her mom, but the responsibility. And one of the things I would say, if you, I don't care how many years, if you have not gone, and I know there's therapy, but then I believe, I got no degree in nothing, I always say that, is there's a difference between just therapy and grief counseling. I believe there's a difference because you want to address the grief of it. And if you have not, because somebody said, I think she was saying they were still grieving. If you have not addressed that, you have stuff probably that's bottled up that it's going to come out at some point somehow. So I know when Pam was saying like that first week afterwards, I think, so for me, I lost my mom in April. I was pregnant. I remember Karyn said, you went through every stage. I lost my mom in April. I was pregnant at the time. My daughter graduated from, kindergarten. So that was kind of our first, was my oldest. My husband left. We were relocating. So he left first in September. Then we moved. I had the baby in November. We relocated in December. So when Carol talked about the many losses, so when I left in December to move across country to a place I didn't know anybody, I did not only grieve the loss of my mom, I grieved the loss of all my relationships at the same time. So, but I was the one who was selling my mother's affairs. I was the one that was doing all of that, not being the oldest, right? But I was the one doing all of that. So I didn't grieve until to even be able to address it to after a whole year after I moved cross country, get my family settled, all that. It was April again before I could even address. So, but I didn't go to grief counseling until after my sister passed in 2011, trying to help a friend go through the grief of her, right? So I didn't start to address it really, the passing of my mom in 2002 until like 2011, not realizing I had. So I would encourage, if you have not gone through grief counseling, to go through it, because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know a feeling, you don't know, something can be happening, you responding that you don't realize it's all associated with the loss. So I would encourage, because it was so eye-opening. I was in that season of my life able to start forgiving people and it's really stuff that I shouldn't even have been putting on them, because it was my perspective, not their. So it was very educational for me. So I would say that would be one piece to do that, because I want to ask everybody, if you have advice to give, what would you give people? So my advice would be that. My other advice would be and I learned this from Pam, you don't have to be strong for anybody. I learned that. So you have to heal yourself to be able to be supportive. So even for the person who is saying that she's taken on that responsibility, you have to heal yourself. Make sure you're being taken care of, right? We put the mask on ourselves first so that we can help others. Make sure that you're addressing that so that you can deal with the overwhelming, that you can, and I don't know the ages of your siblings, but allow them to start being responsible for themselves, especially if they're old and at a decent, a 5-6-year-old one thing, but we all need to process this together. If I'm a teenager and can't process things, so that you don't take all the ownership on yourself. So I would love for everybody to give, and I'm looking to see if there's any other specific things. What would be your one thing? Because I would say for me now, the tears of joy, I was just like, Lord, just the day when the tears become tears of joy and not just tears of loss. So now I can have tears in the excitement of remembering my mom, remembering the strong woman she was. Taking, I always tell people, find something that reminds you of her legacy and do. That was healing for me. I started doing something in my mom's memory and my sister's memory. That was the healing. So what is their legacy? Because this is the thing I would say. This is my Denise-ism. I stand by this to the day I die. I don't think there's any one person who has passed that would want somebody to be so distraught that they can't function because of their loss. So finding the strength, because that's not how your mother will want you to be living. They have raised you to be, especially if you're saying your mom was strong, right? So they raised you to be a strong person too. So they would not want you to just lose everything in their memory. They will want you to do stuff because of their memory, not lose it. So, that's the one thing, that was the one thing that kept me going. Like, I know my mother would not want me to be falling apart. Now, she's not expecting me to grieve. To not grieve, but she would not want me to lose everything in her because of her, right? So that's the one thing I stand on. I believe in my heart of hearts or heart. So I tell people, take that pain, give it passion, do stuff in their memory, live out their legacy and build from that. And in your time, you don't have to be like jump into something, but enough where that your mom is smiling, not heartbroken because you're so heartbroken. So that's my little theory. So I done got hot, y'all. I done got hot. Whew. Whew.
Denise, I want to say also that, I talked a lot about Katrina, but Katrina would not have gotten, hey, Madame Jones, Katrina would not have gotten to where she was today if it wasn't for, like I said, my mother's brothers and sisters, especially my mom's oldest sister, my Auntie May. My Auntie May was not Auntie May to Katrina. When Katrina was young, I told Auntie May, I said, I'm gonna let Katrina call you Auntie Granny May. She laughed. So when Katrina started talking, Katrina, she was like, come here to Granny. Come here to Granny.
Mm-hmm.
She became a big part of why I could even move and do a lot of things. So support system is very, 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 very important. And my auntie, she just took Katrina and made her grandchild, So that was a thing. Another balance, again, as you said, grief counseling. Grief counseling is wonderful. It's different than what people think. And I always tell people that some days, if you feel like screaming, scream. If that don't make you feel better, like Carol said, she was in the store and she just realized she didn't have that recipe and she just started crying. That's okay. People try to make you think that it's not okay. It's okay. And after you've had your good cry and your good scream, you get up and you keep moving. You get up and you keep moving. And I say more than anything, have a relationship with God. Because if you don't have a relationship with God, whoo, have a relationship with God because He will carry you through. And then find people that, like, we're a bunch of women that one of my friends said, I'll get on, but if y'all gonna be crying and stuff, I don't want to. Find people that you have the commonality with. But if it was like so sad on here, I have to say, I'm sorry, I got to go. You know what I'm saying? Because, and I know we all heal at different times, but you can't stay stuck there. You have to be able to move. And like you said, Denise, know that life still goes on. Life still goes on.
Who next?
Do you want us?
Go ahead, Carol. What your advice?
Two things that, and I can only share what has worked for me. Everybody, has something, but one thing is one of my friends sent me a message and she said, take the character that you love the most of the person that you lost because it's been taken from the world and you exude it. You exude it. And it's kind of like when Denise honors her mom. It's just another way of honoring. Denise does the event for her sister and her mother. And for me, I took one characteristic and I try to make sure I exude that all the time. The second one is something that I do because I felt like I had a void in my heart. I am intentional about making love deposits. So for me, I had to go find places where I felt like I was adding love in my life. I have a grandson that lives in California. I go there every month to get a love deposit. I'll set up a lunch coffee with my friends, but I'm so intentional on depositing love back into my heart just to kind of fill that void. So it's grief is an emotion and a feeling, but sometimes we have to be so intentional about what we do to be able to get through it. Sometimes you just have to kind of sit down and go, how do I, one step at a time. But that was my way of doing it with love deposits.
Okay, so one thing I say, people always say that it gets easier. I say, don't believe it. It does not get easier. It gets harder as each holiday comes, as each celebration comes, as each milestone comes. It gets harder. Only thing that gets, you just learn how to deal with it. You learn how to overcome it. You learn how to navigate it. It does not get easier. Um, that's why I say holidays. Holidays are the hardest things for me, but I found a way to navigate it by celebrating it with my family, by celebrating, you know, those around me, by making memories with my children, by making memory with my close family members, by celebrating my granddad who's in his 80s, by making those memories. So when they say it gets easier, don't believe it. Don't believe it. Don't believe it. So that's one of my biggest things that I always tell people. Another thing is for, I think her name is Sherelle, her and anybody else. One of my biggest downfalls is my siblings. We are very close, and not even just my siblings, with anybody in my family um, that I have really bad is I have the tendency to take on everything from everybody else. I tend to take all of their things and I put it on me and I put that pressure on myself, but then there's nobody else for me to put my things on. So here I am taking on everyone else, problems, situations. I'm their go-to. I'm everybody's go-to, but I have nobody to go to outside of God. So therefore, everyone's dumping all of their things on me and I have no one to dump my stuff on. So here I am. I'm putting the weight of the world on my shoulders when all it is weighing me down, weighing me down, weighing me down. But then again, I have nobody to release it to. So that comes to a point where you have to start thinking about yourself. You have to put yourself first, even though you love your siblings, you love your friends, you love your family, but you have to put yourself first. You have to think about yourself. Just because you think about yourself or you put yourself first does not mean that you don't love them, does not mean that you don't care for them. You just have to deposit more into yourself and give more into yourself and love yourself first and love yourself more. That's something that someone who is smiling has been telling me, and I am starting to do that and realize that, because it starts to become overwhelming, and then now your health is declining and now you're declining and now you can't love on those properly. You can't even give yourself to them properly. So just remember that for Sherelle and anybody else. And then the last thing I would say is just take each day as it comes. Take each day as it comes. To revert back to the first thing I say, each day it does not get easier, it gets harder. Just remember the memories, make memories, and continue going on, continue encouraging yourself, and remember the memories and the time that you did have with those loved ones, and make more memories with your loved ones so that they can have those memories of you when it's your time.
Can I jump back in real quick? Because I don't know, the Holy Spirit, this must be for somebody, because it just dropped in my spirit. Be okay with starting new traditions, because sometimes it's really, really tough to have the traditions that you had with your mom, and it can be a really hard time. Be okay with creating new traditions. So I don't know if that's for somebody, but the Holy Spirit just dropped it in my spirit. So I want to share.
You're muted, Kay.
You can unmute her, Auntie Niecy.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the thing too.
That should do it, right? Okay, we'll get this technology thing together at some point. I guess maybe two things I would add in terms of who was asking how do you do what you do without being overwhelmed? And it's so incredibly easy to become overwhelmed. There's so much, especially paperwork you have to go through that you've never had to go through before. And I am that person in the family that everybody looks to for the answers and to do the research and to come up with the plan. I would say to you, eat the elephant one bite at a time. One bite at a time. In packing up my mom's house, there was just so much. Denise said at one point, people were telling her one day at a time. She was like, sometimes it's 1 hour at a time. I was like, okay, I'm going to do one room at a time. It became one closet at a time. It became one drawer at a time. You just have to really, really just take it just piece by piece by piece by piece, and you will find it's easier for all the pieces to come together. My second and last point advice I would give, look for the God winks. And by God winks, I mean the signs from mom. We were in the process of selling her home, and I was trying, how you have this plan and you taking care of things, and the Lord is sitting back with his legs crossed, like, okay, when you get through doing what you're going to do, I'm going to actually fix this. And so let me know when you're done, when you're going to go get it. I was trying to get the house sold. We had a closing date, April 15th, that we're going to do this. That's going to be it. Well, things didn't map out. It didn't work out. The new closing date was May 6th, my birthday. Not only was the new closing date May 6th, but as I was finishing all the cleaning of the house and I'm sweeping out the garage, some decorations fell. And as I'm sweeping them up, Party City has those really tiny little iridescent happy birthday. They say happy birthday. And if one fell out of the bag, I was like, oh my gosh. And as I'm sweeping up, here came another one and another one. There were 7 of them total. 7 little happy birthday in different colors. Right. And 7, I've always been taught biblically means completion. When I tell you I stood in that garage and had me some church, because that to me was mom's God wink. We're closing on your birthday, Karyn, May 6th. It's 365 days in the year. We closed on May 6th after I swept out that garage and found 7 happy birthday signs. So what I'm saying to you is, just like Denise mentioned earlier, don't experience the grief, but don't allow yourself to wallow in it. Look for those God winks, appreciate those God winks, soak up those God winks, because they're there. You just have to be ready to receive them. And those tears of grief will eventually turn into tears of gratitude.
That's, yeah. Those God winks, just embracing those smiles, those little things, and pay attention to the little things. Mm-hmm. Like, definitely pay attention to the little things. So someone had this close question. How would you support someone, your spouse, the lost a mother, and dealing with the nonsense from in-laws? So I would say the focus got to be on the spouse, right? Because you can't control the in-laws. Definitely. And then asking, because when my husband lost his mom, and I'm not sure what type of spouse you have. What I mean by that, in my husband's family, he's clearly the he's clearly although he's the baby, he's clearly the one, the go-to person. So it's not as hard to support him but if you have someone who's not necessarily like that, I can see it be a little bit more challenging to support the spouse because he may not have the stronger leg in the family. But the one thing that I wouldn't try to fix that family, this is me, from my perspective as a wife, I wouldn't be trying to fix that. I would just try to support my spouse as much as I can and how he needs to be supported. If there's things that he needs, and then let their family affairs be their family affairs. That's just me, because you can't control that which is not yours, right? And then the other piece of that is when you're dealing with a family and a loss, a lot of times that stuff got to shake out for a while. Like it's gonna take a minute for it to shake out because you have people, their emotions, trying to deal with stuff. I mean, I had family issues myself for probably almost a year after my mom passed away. So it's almost like letting it all shake out. Definitely don't make it have a stress on your marriage. It's not, I wouldn't do that. Trying to get in, helping to fix the relationships or the situation with his siblings or the other family stuff. That's my thoughts. Anybody else have any thoughts behind that? That was a courageous one, but I said it's just supporting him through his emotions of it, but not necessarily trying to handle the situation of it.
Yes.
So that's what I would say with that. I pray just through this conversation that you found some comfort in just seeing how it is a real thing. If you feel like, oh, is it just me? No, it's not just you. I think Carol hit it on the head, which I never thought of it from this standpoint. When you lose your mom, there's a lot of other associated losses that come with that process that you're probably having to process as well. Not being in a hurry for that process. Trying to, I mean, it's definitely like I think Carol said as well, a void in your heart. You know, it's just something we think that I think we know the fact that we'll lose our parents, but still having to adjust and work through it and not having your parent. For the longest, I couldn't even acknowledge other people's mothers. Like I couldn't acknowledge, it would make me sad to see mothers and daughters, but praise God, I'm not in that season anymore, but that was my first adjustment. So I had to go through stages. So you just have to identify what stage you are in. I believe, just believe that you're not going to stay in that stage as a part of the journey. And then also be intentional about trying to push yourself through the stage, you know, and then other things, giving yourself grace through that process. So, you know, that balance between I want to grieve, that's grieving is natural, but I can't stay in this place because it's a part of the journey that I'm on. And lean in. This is the last thing I'm saying, for lean into those relationships. When people say, how can I help you? I remember Pam said, well, call me anytime. I remember calling Pam in the middle of the night when I was in Maryland, sitting in the middle of the floor, because she said I can call her anytime. And at that time, I needed to call. Like, so lean into those relationships of people. Don't try to, don't try to figure that out. If they say it and you trust that person, lean into those relationships, because the journey is not easy alone. Everybody is not going to understand it. So you're not looking for understanding. You're just looking for comfort. You're looking for comfort. So yes, Karen.
I did, because you mentioned something that Pam said, and something Pam, she may not even remember telling me this years ago. If you have a friend that is going through this, you know, everybody's checking on them when it first happens. Stand back, give them 2 weeks.
Man.
Because that's when the silence sets in. That's when everybody dissipates. That's when everything quiets down. That's when you step in. Check on your friend. 2 weeks have gone by. There are other stages they need help with. And most people are gone. And they need you. And I have remembered that. That's not to say you aren't there from when it happens through the 2 weeks, but your goal is to really concentrate on following up with them when the silence comes.
remember saying that too. Yep, yep. All right, you guys. Whew.
So Denise, you have to do this again because this is not a 1 hour, 1.5 hour. You'll have to find another time to, check on our progress. See
Yes,
how well we're getting along.
Justin, because it is a journey. It is a journey. So I appreciate you guys for your willingness to share on today, because I know it could have opened up some wounds or something. Just have to address it. I appreciate those who got on today. As I said, I pray that it gave you some type of comfort, some type of peace, some type of ways that you can cope with it, something you may not have thought about, or you minimize, that you say, maybe I need to take time and do that. So I just pray that that you can go on another day, make it through another moments, that your moments got a little bit further apart now than being so close together, and that you're able to just find some comfort and focus on yourself through the process, so that you can be able to help somebody else. So so as my pastor said, all minds clear. Check the make sure we have anybody say anything. Oh, like erasing my mom's life. No, Carol. Set boundaries. Yes, set boundaries. And don't be the ones that violate the boundaries. We set the boundaries, and then we be the one to violate the boundaries. Don't be violating boundaries. Keep the boundaries so that you can heal. So, all right, you guys, have a great rest of the night.
Denise, hi. Yes. Denise, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, hi. Hi. This is Charlotte. Greetings. Hello to everybody. I just wanted to, I got on late, and I just wanted to say hello. Denise, I think this is fabulous. This is absolutely fabulous. And so I wanted to also say hello, because I have I should say bonjour. I have a former student's mom on here, surprisingly. And I certainly want to thank you and Karyn for extending the invitation, because I'm really grateful to be, even just this last 30 minutes or so that I've been on. I am grateful to have heard what I heard. If I were to, I didn't hear the beginning of your question, or the beginning of the discussion, but a coworker once told me that when we're dealing with death, death is so final. It is, and I don't know if somebody may have said that already tonight, but death is so final. So this is much needed, because grief will hit you any place, anytime. Mm-hmm. You can think you're doing just fine, but it will hit you and catch you so off guard. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I just wanted to add that to what to what I heard. So I don't want to take up a whole lot of time, because I got on late, but I did want to say that little bit. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that feedback.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So Madame was Katrina's French teacher when she was at McDade in Chicago. I told her to show her face so you could see her, Madame.
Please, because I'm trying. Which class? What year did she graduate from? McDade?
I left McDade in 2009.
Girl, look at you! You left McDade when?
2009.
2009.
2009.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
So that was almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, as my mother would say, that wasn't really yesterday. Yep, that was so good to see you both.
Just a few years.
Yep.
But
I love it.
Good to see.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, have a great rest of the night, and we will have stay tuned with our Let's Talk About It Tuesday. I know we have coming up someone that's going to be talking to us about just an alternative way to being healthy. We have somebody that's going to be sharing with us her journey of being her adoption journey, of how she had crazy faith, which is an amazing story. We'll have someone that's talking about the pre-mortgage, like it's all concepts that I have women coming on to share with us about. So we have someone talking about relationships. We'll have someone talking about more about caregiving, looking for the person to give me some, some specialty on menopause. So if you have any topics, please share them with me, because we are definitely wanting to empower women to be the best version of themselves, to be able to be fully capable of being all that God has called them to be, to do, and to have in this season of their life. So I appreciate y'all time. Have a great rest of the night.
Take care, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks
Good
for
night.
joining.